Hello. Hello there. My name is Daniel, and today we're going to be talking about addiction. Let me give you a quick rundown on the three main things we're going to be talking about in this video. Why do we get addicted? What determines our addictive behavior? And basically a roadmap for progressing through your addiction, no matter how bad you feel about yourself, how intimidated you are, your self-limiting beliefs, any of that shit. So first things first. Why do we get addicted? The main answer is people tend to lack purpose. If you lack purpose, odds are you don't indulge in relationships that much. You don't have that many friends. You don't have a girlfriend, whatever. You don't have a job. You don't have hobbies to do for fun. You're just flat out a fucking mess. Lack of purpose is certainly the biggest reason that people indulge in addiction, and that's simply because it gives you the fix that you need. Let's say you don't have a job and you have 8 hours of your day free to yourself, and you're not the type of person to produce 24/7 because whatever reason, and you don't like to be around people. Let's say you're an introvert. And chances are you're going to fill some of that time by yourself with a negative addiction that you've been unconsciously doing your whole life. In my case, it's video games, weed, shit like that. Second part of why we get addicted is, let's be real. Most of the time, life fucking sucks. It's fucking hard. The need for that positive kick or reset will cause you to seek out that fix in the form of cravings. You're going to experience a lot of cravings if you lack purpose because your brain is trying to fill time with anything fulfilling. But the thing with addictions is they seem satisfying for a short period. However, it's an illusion. You don't actually become fulfilled from those things. So from what I gathered from this is your brain's attempt at giving itself purpose. It's not a very good strategy, but it is something that your brain does unconsciously. Basically, when we're at a low point, we all experience this kick. We need this fix to feel satisfied. Whether you got into an argument with your girlfriend, or you got into an argument with a family member, or something just goes terribly wrong, you get rejected from the job that you wanted. Usually most people immediately go to the thing that will give them their fix. In my case, it's video games. The thing that really makes me feel like I had a great time is playing video games with people, constantly just testing my brain and actually being around other people in that moment. So these addictive behaviors will provide you your fix, but they're an illusion. Ultimately, they fall short of providing any real satisfaction. So be very careful when your brain is empty, it doesn't have certain things to do, and it just automatically goes to the thing that it always does. It is an illusion. It is your brain using the same strategy it's been using its entire life without any knowledge of whether it's a good strategy or not. It just knows that this is how I give myself some sort of feeling, some sort of fix, some sort of satisfaction. In the end, it's an illusion. But for some odd reason, in the moment, indulging in that negative behavior makes us feel internally okay for a little, until obviously we have to face ourselves again, which is when we have to use more. So it's clearly not an effective strategy. The next idea that'll determine your addictive behavior is when you're in a specific state of mind, like let's say you're really down and you experience something really positively reinforcing, this is going to motivate you to continue doing it more. So the main examples I could give you in this is video games, social media, things like that. Let's say when you're down and you go on these, let's say you go on Instagram, you post a picture, you get a bunch of likes, and that makes you feel a little bit better. That's what I'm talking about. That is very positively reinforcing. That motivates you to do even more because it's a way for your brain to seek out and gain more fulfillment, basically. The example I'd give you is, think of playing a video game with people that you really enjoy and you're having fun, you're stimulating your brain. Let's say you're playing a game of League of Legends with like friends from high school or something. You haven't done it in a while, it's great. that's going to be very positively reinforcing, and odds that you want to continue doing that behavior are very significant. Let's use the counter, the flip side. Sending out job applications and getting rejected 500 times. The odds that you get addicted to the thing that's negatively reinforced and drains your motivation instead of supplementing your motivation, it's non-existent. So basically, unless you do some serious convincing in your brain, it's very hard to get addicted to doing things that are negatively reinforced. Now, there's something interesting here, because you can get addicted to working out, for example, and convince your brain that it's actually a positively reinforced thing. I do this through telling myself that I get muscles, and every single time that I train, I am growing. It's all about mindset. It's very interesting. However, I just wanted to point that out, that if you're getting rejected a ton of times, odds are you're not going to want to continue doing the thing. Your brain is going to want to avoid that at all costs, because that in itself creates the necessary requirements for indulging in the addiction. Be very careful for things that are heavily reinforced, like getting likes on social media, playing video games, like winning in a video game. That sometimes that can feel better than... Okay, I'm lying. That feels better than winning in real life. Because wins in real life aren't so clearly defined most of the time. Be very careful for anything that exploits your neurobiological needs. So like your need for human connection, or like your need to get likes and be liked by other people. People get a lot of validation through these types of mediums. In this case, specifically social media. And perhaps you've heard this term before, clout goblins. But basically, when you're being a little fuckhead addict, you're being a clout goblin, just in a different manner. Think about it that way. When you think of addiction, think that one area of your brain really wants stimulation, and it is just hyper-focused on that single area of the brain. It doesn't care about anything else. It doesn't care about the future. It doesn't care about every other part of your brain that's affected by this addiction. It just cares about the part that really wants to be fulfilled. Homeostasis is fucking crazy. Basically, your brain will convince you that you need this stuff, or it will die. But in most cases, that's just not true. In the case of something like alcohol addiction, that will certainly be true. But in the case of playing a video game or smoking weed, you're going to want to give in to the craving, but at the end of the day, that's all it really is. It's a craving. It's basically a consequence of your brain existing. It unconsciously happens that your ego is going to want to give in to these things and fulfill these desires and cravings, even though they're an illusion, in an attempt to find purpose. Basically, your brain is set up in a way that your homeostatic state is going to dictate how you function. So if you constantly take in something like alcohol, you're going to constantly need to stimulate that specific part of your brain so that it can feel like it can function. In reality, you can function without it. However, your brain will create this illusion that it cannot function without it. So be very careful of your brain trying to play tricks on you, and your ego trying to cling on to its old identity if you do start actually making progress. Which brings me to my next point. Let's talk about the roadmap for progress. First step that I've come to understand is you need to identify the problem, recognize and accept that you indulge to an unhealthy extent with certain things. First things first, acceptance. And that doesn't mean you acknowledge that you have a problem and you feel shame. That means quite literally you acknowledge that you have a problem and you make the conscious effort that you're going to try and make progress in it. That's it. It's not about feeling shame. If you're feeling shame, you're going about this the wrong way. You have not accepted it. If you feel shame or any negative emotions. And at the same time, it's also okay to feel those negative emotions. Allow yourselves to feel those negative emotions, so that way that addiction actually loses some of its power because you're processing these emotions instead of constantly distracting yourself from them. So the first thing is the mindset shift. I want you all to accept. This is something I learned in therapy, and it's helped my life so much. Accept and try to move forward despite any doubts you may have, despite how difficult it may seem. Accept and try. The next step is going to be set your aim. Now, if you're a video gamer like me, I figured out something incredible for getting shit done. The quest log. So, if you're a gamer and you play something like WoW, then you did quests your entire life, and your ability to focus on a specific quest is actually, I can't even fucking explain it. It's insane. And then your ability to focus on things that you actually have to do when they're not written down and in your face and you focus on them the whole time, it seems a lot harder when that's when that's happening. So I started implementing something known as the quest log. I started writing down exactly what I needed to do. And this quest log doesn't need to be much, but give yourself some sort of foundation. So determine the purpose of what you want to work towards, and then write it down and stare at it. I have it in a book. I have started doing this regularly. I started with the accountability mirror from Goggins' book, and now I'm doing the quest log because I got this idea from Dr. K about video gamers and their objective-oriented nature. So make yourself a quest log. I'll give you an example of what I have in here. So for the things that I know that I don't want to do, for today, I did not write them down. I just wrote down the main things because I want to focus on those things. Don't give yourself too many tasks. Just focus on these main things that you genuinely care about that are going to progress you in life. So this could be a job, this could be the gym, this could be a relationship, or all three at once. Ideally, the more of these that you have, the more purpose you will give yourself, and the less you'll actually have to indulge in addictive behaviors. In order to not frivolously waste time and overindulge, use the quest log, okay? If you played WoW, you understand. I don't have much on my quest log. Put the main stuff. Okay? That's it. For me, today, I just put make breakfast, go gym, and enjoy a bit of life. And I haven't done the breakfast part yet, but I sure as fuck have started doing the enjoy a bit of life by talking about things that I love and making videos about them. So today's a Sunday. I'm just gonna try to decompress a little bit through things like meditation, not gaming with the boys like I did all weekend because I went way too ham in that area this weekend. So make a quest log, make it productive, and give yourself purpose so you don't have to indulge. Main ways to do this is fill your time with something like a job producing value, relationships. Those are some easy ways to go about it. And then the last step is going to be try, fail. Try, fail. Keep trying, fail some more. Failure is a good thing. We're going to reprogram our minds to understand that failure is actually a good thing. When you go 3-4 days without your addiction and then you relapse, that's actually progress. That is progress, because think about it. Before, you were doing that shit every single day. So at this point, this is where you're going to experience shame and guilt. But be careful, because your brain is acting as it should. However, it doesn't comprehend, it can't physically grasp that you are indeed making progress when you take a couple steps and fall back down. Don't get too hard on yourself when this happens. If you could write it down on a piece of paper and say you are doing more today than you did yesterday, then you're on the right track. Be careful with the shame. Your ego will try to trick you into clinging on to who you were in the past. I heard this beautiful quote from Cameron Haynes. Recent success? No one cares. Work harder. Recent failure? No one cares. Work harder. That is beautiful. Don't get too overjoyous. Don't get too down on yourself. Everything is simply happening, and your emotions are completely separated from it. You are going to experience emotions, but they don't serve a purpose. You're not going to die. You're not going to, you're good. The emotions don't serve you when you are making progress and you feel bad about yourself. That's just your ego gassing itself up. You're going to have to answer the simple question. When it happens, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And the answer is, I'm doing this to grow. Despite how painful breaking homeostasis is, it gets easier the further you pull that rubber band back. Think of it as a rubber band. The closer it is, the more tension required. Sorry, the closer it is, the less tension required. The further it is, the harder it is to pull it back. So, it actually works opposite of a rubber band. The initial stages are always going to be incredibly hard, and the latter stages, we're not really talking about diminishing returns here, but the latter stages are always going to be a lot easier. Think of it as the inverse of a rubber band. The first steps are always going to be the hardest. So, and this is where 99% of people fail, is the first steps, because it's hardest to break homeostasis. If you go in with a mindset that you're going to accept that it's really fucking hard, you're going to accept that you have these problems, and you're going to accept that you're going to go through a roller coaster of feelings and emotions and all this shit that basically is an illusion that's going to try to keep you in the same place, and you're willing to endure a lot of that pain, you're going to make it far. That's all I can say. I hope this helps y'all, and let me know if this works for you when you do implement it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.